Ladies and gentlemen, this thing is big. Not only because it is a case launch from Corsair, which means they're probably going to sell loads of these. This is the 6500. It's available in the one we have here, which is the 6500X. That means you don't get any fans for your $200, but you do get loads of glass and a little bit of side ventilation. You could also go for an airflow version that also doesn't have any fans with it, but comes with mesh rather than glass. Or if you've got loads of money, you can spend $260 and then get this fully kitted out with some RGB IQ-enabled fans. So yeah, it definitely is a lot of money, but then again it is a lot of case, and it could be the easiest and best chassis that I've ever built in. So I guess the only way to actually find out whether this thing is any good is to get our build on. So let's create the ultimate all-white gaming PC and properly review the brand new 6500 series from Corsair right after a short word from this video's sponsor. MSI's jaw-dropping RTX 4080 Super Expert is here, and I mean just look at it. It is stunning. With a finely crafted metal body and timeless design, this card is sure to be the centerpiece of your rig, featuring a pass-through cooling layout to ensure gaming stays cool and quiet. Not only that, but thanks to the power of Nvidia's Super Series, you're fully equipped for ray tracing, DLSS super resolution, and frame generation. Learn more today with the link down below. Let us begin by making some space on our desk and having a proper look then at the 6500, because I have only just taken this out of the box, and obviously that price is going to be the thing that, well, we have to keep referring back to. And I've always really liked the Lian Li cases, the 011 range, and those things are very expensive, and this is almost like Corsair's sort of offering, if you like, in that space. They used to offer a case called the Air 540, and that was way cheaper than this, but then that was quite plasticky, and it just wasn't necessarily the real premium product that I think a lot of people wanted it to be, whereas this is, well, pretty much taking aim specifically at Lian Li. And as you can see, this is a dual chamber design. There's so much space inside here. I mean, obviously your power supply is going to go here, but then you've got loads of space underneath it. At the top, you can use this for like a couple of SSDs and a couple of hard drives, or take the whole thing out, maybe put some RGB controllers there, or if you're wanting to get creative with water cooling, lots of space to work with. And of course you do have this side ventilation here as well, if you're going to put fans or radiators or, I don't know, distro plates and things. It's nice because you've got loads of different amounts of space to work with as well. It's a shame you don't have support for a 420, but you can put a 360 here. Then you do also have some ventilation on the top. It's also really nice to see that you have 4 full-size USB-A's and a USB-C. That's something that separates the men from the boys, in my opinion. Going to be really useful. A nice, big and premium feeling power button here. 360 support on the top. Again, that's fans or radiators. And you do actually have loads of clearance at the top here as well. This is definitely something you'll appreciate if you want to go for push-pull. But then the main difference between the glass version and the airflow version really is this panel here. And obviously if you've gone for the glass version, no support for any mounting at all. Whereas if you do go for the airflow version, you can get a 360 mounted here, be that fans or radiator support as well. And then everyone does get some support at the bottom for, again, more fans or radiators or pumps or whatever it is that you want to do. I really like this because I think if you are going for like the custom liquid cooled route, then it means you can have glass here and you don't have to worry too much about airflow. But I do think it probably would have made sense that you at least got some fans maybe with the airflow version for the same price as the glass. Surely it costs the same to manufacture, or just lower down the price, because to be fair, I don't like the e-waste that you will get from including sort of, not crap, but compared to the real premium ones that people want, crap fans, people just tend to throw them away. So I think it should have been slightly less for the airflow version than the X version, but hey ho, that is the system. I mean, how do we actually open this door? Is it on a hinge? It is on a hinge, there we go. And then the whole thing, if you unscrew this screw here, will just slide off. Really like this system, although mine does seem to be infinitely screwing, which is a bit annoying. My screw is stuck. That's not good. That means my door's stuck on. Okay, that's a mood changer, isn't it? But anyway, round the back, your hard drive cage you can remove with this little screw here, as well as access drives and things, which makes it a bit easier if you're gonna hot swap, or if you just wanna add extra drives and things. Got nice solid PCIe connections. Obviously this is a premium case, don't have to worry about bending out any fingers. You do have this little cable management strap at the bottom, which is useful for tidying things up. And while this doesn't come with support for vertical GPUs, because you don't have that riser cable, you can buy that separately, and then you could have a nice vertical GPU mount fitted inside here. So all in all, bar the screw that I'm sure is like an early production thing, I'll let Corsair know about that, actually pretty good. It's only the lack of 420 support that could annoy some real enthusiasts, but to be honest, I don't think that's going to affect 99% of people, so pretty much a case of so far so good. And I am aware that we've done a lot of PC build videos recently, so I'll try and do this as quickly as possible, but shout out to the fact that Gigabyte do a entry-level B650 board that is all white. I mean, properly all white, even with this PCB, well, being white. I mean, look at that. That is the board we've been waiting for. I mean, yes, if you put this in a white chassis, it might look a little bit odd without some careful theming, but pretty much this has all of the features that you need for your gaming PC without spending loads of money on features that you're just not going to use. And it will be the difference between you being able to afford a chassis like this and, as I say, having some motherboard features that you never ever use. In terms of the CPU, RAM and SSD that we're going for, we've actually gone for the highest end 7950X here today, mainly because I want to stress this system out a little bit when it comes to thermals so we can see how it performs. And this is the hottest Ryzen chip I think you can get. Let's open up our slot and then drop this into position. I will say, by the way, that if you are sort of going for this at home, I would highly recommend that you get the 7800X3D. It is only an 8-core CPU, but the pricing on that seems to be coming down and down and down, and it is going to be the best performing gaming CPU you can get, bar maybe the Intel ones, but that's way more expensive and generates a lot of heat. Now I'm going to have to try really hard to remember our next component. What's going on? It's my memory. Corsair DDR5 Vengeance. That really was a terrible joke. The reason we've gone for this is not only because it's in my drawer, but also because it's some of the best looking white RAM you can get. I mean, you be the judge. What do you make of that? This is a 32 gigabyte kit running at 5600 mega transfers a second, but if you can buy 6000, you should get slightly better performance for not that much more money. So we'll just drop this in to place. And then moving on to our next component. Yeah, that was another memory joke. We have our SSD. This is a 4 terabyte drive, so definitely very overkill. I mean, you know better than me what you store on your computer and how much you actually need. Most people, a terabyte, maybe 2 is going to be more than sufficient, but if you want to go all out, then obviously grab the largest capacity that you can. And then now we can actually proceed to put this inside our chassis. And as I say, this is a very heavy case at the moment. As soon as we actually put power supply, graphics card, all of this inside here, I know this is going to sound like, oh Marcus, you need to go to the gym. Someone said I'm a vegan the other day. It's not even true. Yes, okay, I don't have massive arms. Doesn't take away from the fact that this is still very heavy. And once you do put stuff inside here, it's only going to get heavier. So do be very careful when you start moving this around not to damage yourself. And I also don't like the fact that we have this door now sort of resting badly on a hinge where I can't take it off. But hey ho, needs must. Let's drop this down into position. All of our standoffs are neatly in place for us, which is good. Oh, I fixed it. We just needed some leverage. If this does happen to you, just open it on its side and then there's enough grip on the screw. I'm not taking it back though, still not great. Let's grab the screws out of our little box. Corsair are learning nicely, neatly. I was going to say sorted for you, but oh, they are. This is the best bit. You guys are going to love this. Ironically, the best thing that I saw at CES this year was some screws. I'm not sure if I've actually talked about these yet, and they're not going to sound that interesting, but as soon as you use these, you will understand. Because essentially, these are fan screws that have this quick screw mechanism. So I'm sure they won't be screwed in as tight as a normal screw, but obviously it's a fan, it doesn't need to be. And you can just turn these into a fan now in 1 or 2 rotations. So it essentially speeds up the mounting system of your chassis. Really, really good. Corsair will sell these separately. I guarantee anyone that goes out and buy these, even if they just want to prove me wrong, will be very impressed with them. We'll show you them in a bit. Oh, PT Centric, you're so boring. You're talking about screws. I take my screwing seriously, okay? I should say that this does come in black, of course, if you do want to go for a different look. And actually, if you do want to sort of swap out these front panels, then Corsair will sell you some wood finish and metal finish effects and things as well to make it more customizable. And I guess you could 3D print different designs as well. It's not really my thing. But something that definitely is are these lovely white cables that Corsair have finally, almost nailed. But look, all of them are white until we get to the HD audio when we have a few different colors. at the end. I don't understand why the sheathing couldn't go a little bit further. Maybe it's just not possible, I don't know. But a little bit of electrical tape would sort of make that a little bit neater. Or, let's be honest, most people probably don't even need to plug it in. So maybe that's why they don't bother. But the rest of them are complete sealed white units, which is good. Oh, actually, that's a very valid point. We have 2 USB 3s, which means you'll need a motherboard that does actually support 2 USB 3s or use USB 2 to 3 adapters. And I don't think we have 2 USB 3s on this. So I would say choose a different motherboard. And I guess I do say choose a different motherboard, but obviously make sure it's white if you're going for white, or I suppose black if you're going for black. Oh, and actually, as I start to plug these front panel connections in, I've just noticed something I haven't mentioned that is very, very cool. Now, we have cable management along the bottom and through these little grommets here, which is great. But actually, some of you might have noticed that we have extra cable management holes along the side of the board, but that's not actually what they are, because these are to support the new motherboards, or new motherboard systems really, from MSI and ASUS. So the Back to the Future ASUS stuff, and then the Project Zero from MSI. So if you are going for like even a micro ATX board will fit in here really nicely, or of course a full-size ATX, then you do have these little hole cutouts here. Because of course what that enables is for you to plug all of the connections in on the back of your motherboard, which leaves the whole front looking a whole lot cleaner, I guess. But as I say, if you do want to use it as cable management, then you can. And actually for some of these, I think it will look a little bit neater. And then now comes the bit that I was actually dreading, but now I'm genuinely quite excited because I can show you the screws. We're going to put some fans in here. We've gone for the more affordable option, shall we say, which are some AF120 RGB Elites. So these are not the new IQ Link. And you're probably thinking, oh, PC-centric, why wouldn't you use the new system? It's going to be so much better. That's the point. Obviously, if you're going to go for IQ Link, it'll be really easy to cable manage. But if you've already invested in a load of fans and coolers and things, which chances are you probably already have, then you probably will want to know how this handles all of those cables and will it actually be able to accommodate it. I think it'll be fine. But let's find out. Is there a way to take this bracket out? There is. Yes, there is actually one screw, look, over this side. You've even got a Corsair logo embossed underneath as well. It's the simple things. Then that will remove, and then your fans can go underneath. And then now comes the single most exciting thing we've ever done on this channel, screwing in some fans with these new screws. I mean, look, they definitely look a little bit weird. And I have used these once before, but this is the first time in the studio. Are you ready? And it's done! Tell me that's not cool. Look, I'll do it again. And it's done! So we're setting this up then as an intake. All of these cables should be pretty easy to cable manage. Then just drop it in at the bottom, push it back into position, and then screw it into place. Side fans then are in. Quick word on cable management. You've got a really nice clear hole that goes around the back at the top and the bottom. So if you're using, again, like IQ Link or any sort of interlocking fans, perfect, you have no issues. But if you are going for traditional fans with extra cables, then this one in the middle is a little bit annoying, because if you do put the cables through the cable management holes here, they stick out a bit, they look a bit odd. So your best bet is to sort of trail them up through the side of the fan, but you will have to use some cable ties to get this nice and taut, otherwise it kind of flails out. We are going to be using a 360 radiator at the top, and of course the easiest way to get everything installed is to get our power cables and put them in first. We're using a Corsair power supply and we're using their Pro PSU cable kit, but do be aware that Corsair have started to transition from Type 4 power supplies that use cables like this to their newer Type 5s, which, to be honest, you probably don't need to worry about unless you're specifically buying extra cables. And if you are doing that, make sure you buy Type 5 for Type 5 and Type 4 for Type 4. But the reason that we're grabbing our cables now is just to make our life way easier when we put our radiator in, so we don't have to worry about actually plugging things in. And then of course we can proceed to the bit that I always hate, the radiator. I mean, the IQ Link stuff is pretty good because it's way quicker, especially if you were going to use those new screws, whereas this is going to be fine, but time consuming. And again, just to reiterate, if you have spent all of this money, so I think this at launch was like £300, give or take 50, might have even been more than that. This is the IQ H150 Elite LCD XT, which is a catchy name. So surely if you've spent all of that money on a cooler, I don't know, Corsair, are they actually expecting you to go for IQ Link? Are you really going to sell up shop? Start again? No. And actually this build is going to be quite annoying because our controller has enough for 6 fans for both RGB and fan speed, but we're going to have a total of 7. Boo. And I wonder whether there's going to be an easy way to actually put this radiator inside. We have a removable dust filter, and is this a removable bracket? It doesn't actually look like it. That, to me, looks like it is part of the chassis, which likely means, oh, this is getting heavy, that if you did actually want to mount a radiator, then you're going to have to screw it to the top, which isn't the end of the world, but it's just a bit odd when there are so many cases, loads costing far less, do have an easier mounting mechanism. Oh, and we can't use those screws for this, can we? Because they're not going to be long enough. I hate radiators. I mean, look how much longer this takes. That's like 10 times for every single screw in the system. Corsair, can you make a quick release system for these, please? I will confess, though, that while it is annoying not to have one of those radiator brackets, does it actually matter? Probably not, because the amount of time it saves
is tiny.
But I'd rather have the screws than the bracket for the radiator at the top, genuinely. Let's get our mounting mechanism ready. Add some thermal paste. Then attach our cooler, screw it in, plug in our fan header. Annoying, by the way, that these aren't white cables. You think when everything else was, this would be, but alas not. Oh, then we can give it another spin round. And obviously this is, again, what sort of separates the good cases from the bad cases, the cable management. And this is a little bit of a weird one, actually, because it's like a bit of a contradictory, because there's not much, but there's loads at the same time. Like, you don't have loads of tie-down points and things at the top to sort of weave things through. But because you naturally have this big channel here and you're not going to see it, it doesn't really matter that much. So I think on the whole, actually, it's quite good, despite the fact that you don't get any straps or anything fitted as standard, which is weird. I mean, surely there should be some tie-down points here, but maybe it's where they've had these cutouts for those motherboards that they've sort of had to move stuff or omit stuff. But as long as you use cable ties, I think you should be okay. And it is worth remembering that we've definitely gone for worst case scenario with these big bulky cables that not everyone is going to use. And of course, by going for non-interlocking fans, we've introduced way more cables than Corsair would say is ideal for this chassis. But let's go and plug all of this stuff in and see if there are suitable places to park it all. I'm just gonna stick these in here and forget about them, but I mean, I don't even care if you don't think this is professional. This is what PC builders do, and I suppose it is at least nice that you have plenty of space to do it. So that's hub 1. Let's now go for RGB hub 2. This only does RGB, doesn't do fan speed as well, so we'll have to plug one of the fans into our motherboard, but that shouldn't really matter. But then just a couple more components to finish this off. Our power supply. This one is actually discontinued, so I'll leave an updated version you can get of this down below. Clearly RGB power supplies didn't catch on, but ones that come with white cables out the box definitely do, or did. This should quite easily just pop in place. And obviously if you're going for a really large one, it will protrude more, but here you've got loads of space. It's all right, no one saw that. Of course, we do also need to plug in the cables, and it's really nice that you can properly access your power supply without having to take it all out. This is also one of the big advantages of going for a dual chamber design. And rather annoyingly, the only white GPU that we have that isn't an NVIDIA 4070 Ti that's obviously now defunct is this one. It's the PowerColor 6700 XT Hellhound. So I'm very much using this. I mean, you can get 6700 XTs for really, really good price points actually, but I would say if you're going for a build this high end, you're probably not looking at this, but something like the Gigabyte Aero cards are really good, or you can buy like MSI Gaming X's or Zotacs. Loads of different types of cards you can get in white, so obviously you just have to imagine the particular card you want to go for, but this is a white GPU, it's big, and I think it's going to look good in this chassis. But there have been some really good white PC builds that we've done on the channel. You can find them in the top right hand corner of your screen, where we use like some of those 4070s, and they looked amazing. It's rather unusual as well, but these thumb screws seem to be a little bit smaller than normal. I'm sure this was a conscious choice. I'm not sure why they've gone down this route. And it's also worth noting that both the motherboard screws and these are black, which I don't think matters at all, but if you go for like a Lian Li case, and I think the Fantecs were the same, they came with silver screws on the white variants, which some people might prefer. But let's pick up our GPU, whack this in our rig. There we go, that's in. Screw it into place, then we can grab our cables that I've already pre-routed, feed those into position, neaten everything up, and then I think we have, hopefully a fully working, but definitely at this moment, completed gaming PC rig in the 6500X. And actually, I'd say on the whole, it's pretty good. I would say this doesn't really do anything unique though. I mean, this is very similar to the Fantecs range, and Lian Li's, and I'm sure loads others. It's just the price point really of entry that is going to be a barrier, I think, to quite a lot of people. Plus the fact, as we've already discussed, that it is going to get expensive very quickly to properly get everything in here, because if you didn't put fans here, frankly, it look a little bit stupid. So unless you're going to buy them at a later date, I wouldn't advise doing that. Obviously, if you want to go for an air cooler and things here, then that's going to be fine, but you will also need the fans around it to properly give it enough airflow, because I think it's not really going to be breathing as well from the sides if you don't put fans there, and then obviously if you don't have a radiator, you won't have the fans at the top. Yeah, it's going to get expensive, but while this isn't particularly unique, I think it works really well. The asking price is high, but it's not like crazy unreasonable. Just make sure you compare the price, I suppose, to a load of other cases. And I will also say that Corsair cases always tend to be priced quite high, but you can always find them in sales for a fair bit less. You probably won't at launch, but definitely things like the 4,000 and 5,000 range I've seen for way under the RRP. So once it gets there, I think it'll be a little bit easier to recommend to everybody. But at the moment, if you do like a Corsair case, you like the look of this, maybe you do want to be able to swap out the panels on the front, then yeah, you'll be able to get a good looking build. And I will also say that the white finish that they've gone for on this is way better than the previous generation of this, where it looked good in photos, but you got it up close and it was a bit plasticky. Not going to be the case with this. But let's turn this on, see if it works, and test the thermals. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, let's do it. Ta-da! Well, it certainly looks like it's on. White builds look so much better once they're on. I love like a ice blue or sort of like, yeah, that purpley effect on the top. Really looking pretty cool. And of course, you've got that beautiful white RAM with the white GPU, white board. All works really well together. I don't think anyone's going to argue that this is a very good looking chassis. Oh, and it works. There we go. It always sounds bad when it says FTPM NV corrupted, but it's fine. I am going to pair this, by the way, with the perfect white mouse and keyboard combination, not sponsored. Logitech G Pro, that was a special white edition, but I think you can buy the super light actually in white now. And then the ROG Azoth, which is currently my favorite keyboard, which is pretty cool. It's very expensive. I mean, I wouldn't recommend this to most people. It doesn't offer great value because it's around about 230 quid or something like that. But it's white and you have these beautiful sounding keys. Oh, and hang on a minute. I haven't plugged this, the PC-centric mouse mat. Grab yours with that link down below. We ship, I can't probably say globally, but it's a lot of countries. Grab yours today with that link down below. Quick peel. Yeah. But now everything is all properly set up and ready to go, let's have a quick look at our gameplay, thermals and acoustics. So we're currently getting around about 80 to 85 FPS at the moment. This is 4K with FSR, very high preset. And in terms of those temperatures, as you can see, not a problem whatsoever. Our GPU is sitting at about 55 degrees actually. So it's getting loads of ventilation, and this is why I say, while it will definitely look better to have extra fans down the bottom, it's not really going to be necessary, to be honest, because I don't think there are actually that many instances when you will need more airflow. I mean, there are loads of bad cases out there that have like solid front panels and things, but if you have 3 fans blowing air in from the side, then most modern graphics cards will then be getting all the air that they need, really. But if you are struggling with a particular GPU or it's making more noise, then obviously putting some down the bottom should help. I'm also very impressed actually with our CPU temperature. Now obviously this is not stressing it out properly. You can see we're only using 20% of it, but obviously this is a pretty typical gaming load, to be fair. Spider-Man actually does use the CPU a lot more than some other games. So yeah, around about 65 degrees or so, but obviously if you're going to run Cinebench or anything where you're maxing it out, that is going to be a different story. But there are very few games actually that will, well, if any, that will properly max out a 7950X and a graphics card at the same time. So I'd say this is as realistic as you're going to get, to be fair. Here's your noise test. So definitely a fair whir, but there aren't any fans that come with this case as standard, so it's not necessarily like a fair test, is it? Because it's going to depend entirely what you put in it, but you've got loads of airflow, so it shouldn't really be a problem. All in all then, I would say I am a fan of this case. I think it's very timeless, it's classic, it lets your hardware properly sing without making too much noise. Nice thick panels, very good build quality. No one's gonna dislike this, it's just whether it's worth the asking price. And this is a complaint that we can also have with things like the O11, but they at least offer you options. So if you did want to go down like a cheaper route, then there are other cases that are similar, same sort of design, but obviously cost less money. I think most people, I honestly would still recommend the Phanteks NV5. I think that's my favorite chassis at the moment. Really hits that sort of price to performance nail on the head. But like this, it doesn't come with any fans. So while this might be a little bit too expensive, I think as soon as the pricing does come down on the sort of street price, I think this is going to be very easy to recommend, as long as you are willing to have a case that is pretty big and definitely is very heavy. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you make of it? Do you think it's pretty cool? Do you agree with me, especially on this white version, that it looks absolutely sick? Or do you think something else is better? Would you rather go for that Lian Li? Let us know down in the comment section below. Smash the like button if you've enjoyed this. Get yourself subscribed. And as always, if you do want to check out current pricing on any of the components that were featured in this build, including of course the case itself, you can find these linked down below with our affiliate links. And while you're down there, why not bask in the radiance of MSI's RTX 4080 Super Expert? This metallic graphics card brings a whole new look to PC gaming, with a finely crafted aluminium die-cast casing and cooling galore thanks to the Flow Frozer thermal design. It's got crazy performance in the latest ray trace titles and can even be overclocked with ease thanks to MSI's Afterburner software. Learn more today with the link down below. But thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.